I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What's going on, everybody? Jacob Courtwright here with yet another Saturday morning pick'em, and I brought, of course, my two good friends with me, my brothers in arms. Mr. Seth Thornton and Justin Courtwright are back with us again today. First off, I want to congratulate Justin on a perfect pick last Saturday. Not only was I perfect, but I led him through my wisdom, and he was perfect as well. The first perfect picker of the year, since I technically am not allowed in this conversation. So congratulations, Justin. How does that feel to be the first perfect picker?
I'm looking to continue the streak this week.
Well, I will admit, this week there are a lot of toss-ups, and we'll see what goes down. So let's go ahead and get right into our first game of the day. Number 7, Cincinnati versus UCF. With this win, Cincinnati will not only guarantee them a spot in their own conference championship, but with this win, they knocked down their hardest test thus far, not only this year, but to make the college football playoff. So if they have any hope, they have got to take down the UCF Fighters alum. Desmond Ridder has led his team to an average of 40 points on offense. That is in the top 20% in all of college football thus far this year. But here's the deal. He's going against Dillon Gabriel, another guy who can put up not only a lot of yards, but a lot of points. 23 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions thus far this year. So this is going to be a dueling quarterback situation. Going against the ACC's best with 12 interceptions, though, I do think Dillon Gabriel has a lot cut out for him because this Cincinnati defense and offense is in quite a pickle here. So, Seth, I'm going to go to you first. What do you think happens in this game?
I'm going to give it to Cincinnati. I think that they're just going to be too much for UCF to handle. This is definitely not the best UCF team that they've put on the field. So I think Cincinnati will walk away with it pretty easily.
Justin, what do you got this game?
As you know, I do love UCF's tradition. I do love their atmosphere. I love their coach, and I love Dillon Gabriel a lot. He's a great quarterback. But Riddle has just been a beast for Cincinnati this year, and he is just taking the reins and he is taking off. And so I'm going Cincinnati by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. I just think at the end, Cincinnati's quarterback play, Cincinnati's defense is just going to be the ultimate deciding factor in this game.
Yeah, I think no doubt both teams are going to score some touchdowns. I think both quarterbacks have that capability. But at the end of the day, they're going against the best defense they've seen all year, and UCF is going against the best defense they've seen all year in Cincinnati, who has 12 interceptions already this year. And I think that's the deciding factor here. I do believe that Cincinnati defense just gets one more turnover. I'm going a close one, though. I think it's going to be a 24-21 close game and a nice finish for the Cincinnati defense. Moving on, number 10, Wisconsin versus number 19, Northwestern. Another great matchup for tomorrow. If you're a football fan, these next few weeks, not only in college football, but in the NFL, are just superb. Wisconsin leads the Big Ten in both scoring offense with 47 points a game and rushing with 261 yards per game thus far this year. And that is with missing 2 games because of COVID. So that is exceptional right there. Exceptional right there with that Wisconsin offense. Graham Mertz is completing over 74% of his passes thus far this year. They have a 4-deep running back core that just seems to reload every single game. Every single game, they have not had a consistent rusher. They all have gone over 100 yards. So that is impressive to have a running back core that is that deep. Now, Northwestern's spread offense has allowed them to finally open up. This is a unique situation for them as they have usually run a pro-style offense. But changing to the spread, they now can put up some points on offense, which has changed from years past. And their defense is much better. But they do rely heavily on Peyton Ramsey on that offensive side of the football to lead the way. Their defense has only allowed one 100-yard rusher all year as well. So you've got a great matchup here. Northwestern holding a Wisconsin team who's averaging 261 a game, and they've only allowed one 100-yard rusher thus far. Justin, I'm going to go to you. This is a close matchup here, but what do you got going on in this game?
Well, Northwestern looked pretty good against Purdue, but let's be honest, it's Purdue, right? Purdue's not very, very good team. And so they did their job. They went in there and won. But this kid Graham Mertz, he's just amazing. He's just sorts of he's sensational.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, he's the reason why Wisconsin is undefeated. He's the reason why Wisconsin is going to be in a spot to be in the playoffs this year. And he is the reason that he's the driving force for this offense. And with that, I can't go against Wisconsin. They have everything: running game, O-line, quarterback play, and also their defense is not that bad this year. So I'm going Wisconsin 35, and I'm going Northwestern 7.
Wow, another blowout back to back already. Seth, I'm going to go to you. What do you have going on?
Yeah, Wisconsin's a good team. I think. I think they're going to get the win. I think it'll be a pretty impressive win too, like Justin said. Um, I don't have too much faith in Northwestern, especially with such a close game to Purdue. I think I'm just gonna ride it off with Wisconsin on this one.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Ramsey just doesn't have the talent that Northwestern needs to keep up with an explosive Wisconsin offense. Even if that Northwestern defense holds them to under 261 yards rushing, which they've done to just about everybody thus far this year, I still believe that at the end of the day, Mertz is just going to be way too much to overwhelm the backside of that great frontline defense. This is going to be an interesting game here. I think it's close for a long time. I do believe Wisconsin pulls it out towards the end. I'm going to go Wisconsin 35, Northwestern 21. At the end of the day, I just think Mertz is just too much for this defense to handle. Moving on to Seth, your favorite team. You've got them on your hat right now. Tennessee versus number 23, Auburn. Now, this game is a 28-point spread right now, around 28.6 points for Auburn. But this game could be interesting if a couple factors, and let me lay them out for you. Garantano has not had over 165 passing yards since early October. If that was any other quarterback in college football, you would be sitting on the bench. So is this the game that Harrison Bailey finally gets the start? He gets the roll call. He gets to lead this Tennessee offense from the first to the fourth quarter. I hope so, because if Bailey does play, I don't believe that Tennessee wins, but I do believe that Tennessee makes it very interesting. And when you keep it within a puncher's chance against a good team, anything can happen. We saw that against Indiana in the very first game of the year against Penn State. The Tennessee offensive line, though, is something that has not been talked about a whole lot. They have been a huge disappointment. They have 4 former 5-star linemen that are performing like 2-star players right now. They are ranked 93rd in sack rate in the entire FBS, which is pretty horrible. They are ranked 82nd in success rate in both run and passing blocking. So their offensive line has been a big factor as to why they have not had a lot of success on that offensive side of the football as well. Now, they are going up against an Auburn team that has been just plainly inconsistent. We have seen Bo Nix go for 304 touchdowns. We've seen Bo Nix go for 120, 2 interceptions and a touchdown. But the biggest problem is Tennessee's run defense is atrocious. Their pass defense is great. Is Auburn smart enough to push the ball on the ground and play to Tennessee's weakness? Or are they dumb and are they going to let Bo Nix try and throw the ball for 48 plus yards? There's a lot of coaching decisions here that I think could change the whole outcome of this game. So, Seth, I'm going to go to you. Start off, of course, the Tennessee fan. Giving all those scenarios, what do you think plays out tomorrow?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think Harrison Bailey is going to start. I think he might be able to play, but I'm not sure if he'll start. But I can definitely see Tennessee creeping up and getting this win. I think Auburn could overlook them, maybe think that they've got an easier win than they have. And I think Tennessee's team is scrappy enough to barely pull out a win. So I am going to go with the upset with Tennessee taking the win.
All right. Justin, what do you think?
It all comes down to who I trust more. And do I trust Garantano? Because for some reason he's still a starter for Tennessee. Or do I trust Bo Nix? And with that, I trust Bo Nix. Let's just be honest. Garantano, I trust him as far as I can throw a feather, which isn't very far. So with that, I'm going Bo Nix, and I believe this is just going to be over within the second quarter. Auburn wins 49-7 against Tennessee. There's no way Garantano can play against this team. No.
So here's the deal. Here's what I think is going to end up happening. I'll play out my scenario. I do believe that before halftime, this game does get interesting. I have on good authority from someone who used to play at UT that they're seriously discussing Bailey as a starter after the break. He's looked very good in practice. If Bailey does start, I think this thing stays very close and could be very interesting. But if Garantano does start, as a lot of people think he's going to, it's going to be a blowout. I'm going to go 42-27. They just don't have what it takes to really push past with Garantano at the quarterback position and with this offensive line blocking the way they are. Here's a weird, interesting fact that I found out. Tennessee is the second worst team in all of college football following halftime. They have only scored 38 points, giving up 114 points to their opponents. So that is my big problem here. I think a lot of it deals with coaching. But like I said, with a few coaching tweaks on both sides of the football for Auburn and Tennessee, this could be a very interesting, very entertaining game. I just don't have faith that those changes are going to be made on either side. And I do believe we're just going to get a classic 42-27 here, just simply for the fact that they will not pull the trigger where they need to. Now, I know that does upset you, Seth, but I tried to go as neutral as I could there. Man, Tennessee has the potential to be a lot better than what they are, and they just won't pull a lot of the strings that they need to. Moving on, number 14, Oklahoma State versus number 18, Oklahoma. All right. Now, Oklahoma State has had big problems with injury. We have reported that both their star running back Hubbard and star wide receiver Wallace are questionable to play. They also have 3 starting offensive linemen that are questionable for this game as well. So the problem is can Oklahoma State, their offensive line that will be in shambles, their running back and their wide receiver core really step up to the plate against a tough opponent in Oklahoma? That's the big question here. We don't know health-wise who's going to be available or what's going to be available. Surprisingly enough, Oklahoma, who I'm not a big fan of, haven't paid a lot of attention to this year either, has the best defensive line statistically right now in their entire conference. Now, a lot of people are shocked by that. I was just as shocked when I found that aspect out too. So they're going up against an Oklahoma team that their defensive front is going to cause a lot of problems. And if you're not at 100%, this could be big, big trouble for you. But I think in order for Oklahoma to pull off this win, Spencer Rattler, who also was hobbled up with injuries this week with a bruised hip and a deep bruise contusion on his leg, is he going to be 100%? If that's the case, I think Oklahoma has a very good shot at pulling away in this game. Stevenson, the running back, is a big factor as well. He is averaging not only 8 yards a carry, but he is averaging that over 3 games in a row. So Oklahoma's starting to get the run game going. We see Spencer Rattler finally coming around, but I don't know health-wise who's going to be where on both sides of the football. Justin, I'm going to go to you first. If everything plays out with injury depth-wise like they're saying, do you believe that Oklahoma State can even have a fighter's chance in this game when they're going to be missing half of their starting offense?
Who do I trust more, Spencer Rattler or Oklahoma State collectively as a team? I'm going to go with Oklahoma State collectively as a team. Spencer Rattler, young freshman, think he might be good, but he is not ready for this game. He's not ready for this bright light, and Oklahoma is just going to lose. It's going to be close. I'm going to go 35-38, but I believe Oklahoma State's going to get that game-winning field goal and send Oklahoma packing home.
Seth, what do you got?
We'll go the opposite. I think Oklahoma's going to win. I think this game will solidify the Big 12 being completely knocked out of the playoffs. I think Oklahoma State will be done after this, and it's just going to be a wrap for the Big 12. I think Oklahoma is going to be too much offensively for them to hang on.
I 100% agree with you. I just think at the end of the day, with so many injuries right now for Oklahoma State, not only on offense, as we've seen, that's just in shambles right now, but their defense missing a couple starters and just giving up way too much over the past 2 games. I just believe Spencer Rattler gets it done. He tends to step up in big moments. We've seen Oklahoma step up in big moments. This is going to be a very close game. It's going to come down to the last minute, and that's why I'm going to give it to Oklahoma, because they have their starters all healthy and ready to go on the offensive side of the football. I'm going to go Oklahoma 21-20 here in a very fun game. Hey, if you're an Oklahoma fan or an Oklahoma State fan, this is the game to watch tomorrow. Moving on, a team that I just love to talk about here. We almost left them out of the show, but after talking with these guys, we just couldn't do it. Number 21, Liberty versus North Carolina State. Be prepared for all the stops in this game for Liberty. This is not only a must-win for Liberty. This is not only a season-defining win for Liberty. This is not only a program-defining win for Liberty, but this is the solidification of, can Liberty maybe be one of those out-on-the-skirt shots to get into the college football playoffs? Now, I know a lot of people don't think that's going to happen. I don't believe it will either, because I don't think they have a resume that is strong enough to make it there. But with this whole COVID situation, with teams being in and out, who knows what the crap is going to happen? This COVID thing is just blowing college football out of the water. I mean, we might have a 1 or 2 loss team in the college football playoffs. We might have an undefeated BYU. We just don't know what's going on right now. Cincinnati's a big talk right now for COVID. So with all that being said, Liberty says, their coach came out earlier this week, that they might have a shot. That being the case, that's a lot of motivation for a big game. Willis has been impressive. Not only is he leading them in passing, of course, as the quarterback, but he is their leading rusher. He is completing 76% of his passes. He is averaging almost 100 yards a game on the ground, and that is just a lot to deal with only from a quarterback, not even including their good running back, their good wide receiver, their good tight end tandem that they've continually had the last couple weeks. But can their offensive line hold up against an NC State team that has always been known for good defensive ends and good nose tackles? That is the big question here. I do not believe North Carolina State's offense, with Hackman at the back of the quarterback position, can really put up a whole lot of points. So that means they're going to have to put the strains on Liberty early and hope that Liberty doesn't go on a spurt later in the game. Seth, I'm going to go to you first. What do you have going on, man?
You know, it'd be really easy to just say this is an obvious NC State should win, wrap it up there, Power 5 versus non. And I can understand people doing that. But I think Liberty's put too much into this season. I think they're riding really high right now. And I think NC State at the same time is a good team, but they could definitely be overlooking Liberty for not only that they're in the top 25, but because they're just not a Power 5 team. And I think, Hugh Freeze, great head coach. He's a very smart head coach. I think he'll have them ready, and I think Liberty will shock everyone once again and get another win.
Justin?
I have one word for you: undefeated.
So I'm assuming you're going Liberty here.
That's correct.
Do we have a big point spread? Are you going 3-4 touchdowns? What?
I'm going to Liberty. Is going to win 28-21.
See, I am with you. I cannot pick against Liberty. I will not pick against Liberty until they prove me wrong. Steve, who's been on the show, he says the exact same thing. And we've got to stick with Liberty until they prove that they can't handle it. I think Liberty pulls out a sensational win with a 41-38 victory. This is not only a program first, a program staple, but it is a program defining win for their near future. Like you said, Seth, Freeze has just been incredible over there. He's been smart. He's used what the defenses have given him. 1 week it's with the quarterback's legs, then it's with the quarterback's arm, then it's with the running back. He's just been a great offensive mind, and their defense is just top-notch this year. Liberty, I love seeing you on this program, and I love talking about you. Keep it up. Now, moving on, a very interesting matchup next in the Pac-12, number 20, USC versus Utah. Now, USC has lucked out in back-to-back victories. Not only have they committed more penalties than touchdowns thus far this year, but they are the worst rushing team in all of the Pac-12 for all the teams that have made their debut anyways, as we know that Utah is making its debut. But the problem for Utah on the offensive side of the football is they are not with Tyler Huntley and Zach Moss. Zach Moss, their all-time leading rusher there. Kendon Slavis has been impeccable for the USC Trojans, leading all of the Pac-12 in passing yards and touchdowns thus far. So with those aspects, it's basically an experienced USC offense with no run game versus an inexperienced Utah offense with a great defense like we have seen every year. Utah has won the Pac-12 South simply off of defense in back-to-back seasons, as their defense has created more takeaways, more quarterback pressures, and more sacks than anybody in the Pac-12 the last 2 years. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Justin's phrase. Who do I trust more? Do I trust a Utah defense or a USC offense? I'm going to go USC here in a 30-21 victory. There's too many question marks for Utah on the offensive side of the football. Even though I love their defense, as a Bears fan, Justin, you know, defense is not going to continually win you games. You can keep the offense off the field, get them in 3 and outs, but at the end of the day, if they score a touchdown and you score a field goal, they're going to win. And I just think that USC is just going to make one too many plays and get the ball into the end zone. And that's why I've got USC, winning this game. Justin, I'll go to you first. What do you think is going to happen in this game, man?
Well, I personally think Utah is going to be the biggest threat to Oregon this year. I believe Utah is the only team in the Pac-12 that even has a chance of making the playoffs and beating Oregon this year. So with that, I'm going Utah to knock off the starry USC Trojans, and I believe this is going to be a statement win. I believe they're going to win by 28-3. They're going to beat USC.
Well, Seth, before you go, man, I'm just going to interject something real quick. The phrase you uttered that Utah is the only one that might make the playoffs for the Pac-12. Utah is the only threat to Oregon. Well, that's what a lot of people said last year when Oregon went in there and smacked Utah down to the ground.
I said Utah or Oregon. Utah or Oregon.
Oh, or Oregon. Okay, I can respect that a little bit more. I just, like I said, until we have definitives of who's the starting quarterback, who's the starting running back, what wide receivers they're going to be able to bring out in that conference, I just think it's a little bit too much to ask Utah right now to take out a number 20 ranked team in the country in USC. But Seth, I will go to you. What do you have going on, man?
With you, I think USC will win.
I think you have your mic muffled a little bit.
What about now?
Perfect.
I think USC will get the win. I think that because of those 2 games, USC is getting better and better, getting a little bit more confident with each other. Yeah. And I think they'll be ready to play Utah. And seeing as though it's Utah's first game, they might be a little shaky as well. So I'm going to go with USC winning.
Yeah, you could tell after last week's sneak by win in Arizona, I think this is a game that USC needs to really solidify themselves in the college football playoff talk, or even in the realm of Oregon. And that's not just because I'm a Ducks fan, clearly, by all the stuff in my room, but are they on the same level as an Oregon Ducks team offensively? Can they be consistent offensively? Can they be consistent defensively? They really need a big win against a Utah team to solidify that. And I think they're going to come out with guns a-blazing tomorrow. And now on to the game of the day. Wow, this is a great matchup. And I didn't think we were going to be saying number 9 Indiana versus number 3 Ohio State, but that we are. Now, I'm a guy who likes to take notes. I'm a guy who reads off a lot of notes. I got a lot of statistics, but I just put 2 things down when it came to this subject right here. Penix Jr. and Justin Fields. Those are the 2 big staples of not only can these teams win, but are these teams going to win? Can Penix Jr., he's proven me wrong once this year against Michigan, can he make the throws that he needs to? We know Indiana has a pretty good run game. We know Indiana's defense is playing pretty decent, second in their conference right now in yards allowed. So, I mean, this Indiana defense, I can't continue to shake my head and just say that they're not that great because they've proven me wrong over and over again. So the big question is Penix Jr. better than Justin Fields? That is the kind of comparisons I'm leaving here. Seth, I'm going to go to you first, man. This one's a tough one for me because I've fallen into that underdog love for Indiana, but what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, so I'm still not on with Indiana yet. I don't think they're as good as everyone thinks they are. I think they've beaten an 0-4 Penn State team that everyone overreacted to, and now they've beaten, as we can see, a terrible Michigan team. And I don't think they're prepared for this game. I think Ohio State's going to come in there or play them well and just completely beat them in every
Justin,
aspect.
what do you got?
I got one word for you. Overrated.
Okay.
That's what Ohio State is. And I'm riding with my boys. Indiana to knock off number 3, Ohio State, overrated. Justin Fields, overrated. Ohio State goes down 35-30, Indiana.
Well, it's never predictable when Justin is on this show. You don't know if it's going to be a 5-touchdown win or a major upset, but that is something that I love about you, Justin. You're just always unpredictable, and I like that you go with your gut. At the end of the day, it's who do I trust more? I'm using your words, Justin. Who do I trust more? Justin Fields. He's just done it over a longer period of time. I do believe this game is close. I do believe Indiana makes it interesting. But at the end of the day, I just think Justin Fields is going to be a little bit too much for that Indiana defense. They struggled against a Michigan State team for a first couple quarters, simply for the fact that they had a running back that that is averaging over 100 yards. And they're about to go up against a quarterback that is averaging over 300 yards. So with that being said, I do believe this is a 38-34 victory for Ohio State. But I also am going to go with you as well, Justin. I think Ohio State is a little overrated this year. Their defense has not looked up to par. They're giving up a ton of yards. They're giving up a ton of points, and they're not playing great teams thus far. So can they hold an Indiana team that's a lot better than what they've played to a lot lower amount of points than they're allowing? Because if they can't, that's when this game is going to be close. But at the end of the day, I can't pick against Justin Fields. I can't pick against Ohio State. It's kind of like the Alabama of the Big Ten. You just know for a fact that they're going to be in that same conversation every year. And that's why I'm going to go with Ohio State here. But, guys, this is going to be a great Saturday. We have great games, not only this Saturday, not only for the NFL, not only for football in general for the next 4 weeks, but we have great matchups, and that is what I love about college football in the NFL, is we are just getting the matchups we want this year. Once again, Seth, thank you for joining me. Justin, thank you for joining me. In case you haven't noticed, guys, this is going to be kind of the normal here at College Football Pick'ems. You guys have shown me with the statistics, with the views, with the love, that this is the combination you want to see. So we will continually bring them back. As always, I will have them attached and tagged to everything. This video goes out and is uploaded 2 hours before you are about to watch college football. So if you want to join, if you want to play, you can't vote after the games have started. You can't vote when the games are completed. You got to get it locked in before, and that is why some of you who messaged me and said, well, I picked perfect too, but I know when you're picking. So you got to be careful with that. We're about to award our first gift card to a perfect picker, so make sure that you are the one. Guys, thank you for joining me, and we will see you next Saturday. We here at The Locker Room thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning pick'em. If you'd like to know how to play along at home, it is simple. You will now see a slide with all of my social media. Follow me on Instagram every Saturday morning, and you can vote. At the end of the college football season, I will pick a winner for a cash prize for whoever gets the most right answers. So make sure you follow my social media. That is the only way to lock in your answer. You must follow, and then join along and play.